Hi and welcome back. I'm Caroline of the Tao of Horsemanship, and this is Everything Horses and More video channel. Today we're going to be talking about creating confidence in your horse. So for today's video, Training Success in 5 minutes or less, our training will focus on how to create confidence in our horse and in any situation. You're going to be able to apply what I'm going to teach you in any situation, and I'll tell you next why. This is a snippet of the full-length video, which is found in my video library, Everything Horses and More. So if you're interested in learning more, please subscribe. Does this relate to you? And can you recall a situation where you felt unconfident? And if so, what were the reasons? Maybe you were pushed too hard, rushed too fast. You didn't really understand what was being taught or what was going on. And maybe you were yelled at, or you were felt to feel really bad about yourself. And you lost your confidence as a learner. I know it's happened to me. So often training undermines learning. And what I mean by that is we get caught up in the result. Everything is a quick fix. How do we get from point A to point Z, forgetting all of the letters of the alphabet in between, which are building blocks? And what I'm also talking about is we aren't taught, or we forget to take a look at our horse during the learning process. We need to pay more attention to how our horse is showing up during this process of learning, what they look like. We need to pay attention to them. We need to listen to them because they are the best feedback. They're going to tell you how this is working for them or isn't working for them. See, our real focus when training should be about learning. When we think training, it should really be learning. Another good word I like to use is developing. I want to develop the horse's education. I want to develop their confidence. I want to develop their trust. I want to develop them versus I want to train them. So just changing and shifting that mindset is so powerful. Instead of saying we're going to train today, it's so linear and hardcore. It's like, yep, we're going to accomplish this no matter what. Let's talk about learning. How do we set up a learning experience for our horse that builds confidence? And we can keep building upon that. As I always say, you can't learn when you're worried, distracted, or paralyzed by fear. And so often, so much of our training techniques produce that in our horses. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Big distinction I want to make about learning is how we learn and why one way is better than another. And we're going to apply this to our horses as well. So horses and humans have two very distinctive ways of learning. The first one is through habituation and mechanics, which is where we do the same thing over and over again until it becomes habitual, becomes second nature for both. While this way of learning works and has its benefits and advantages, such as forming healthy routines and habits, it is a basic way of learning though, meaning it develops more muscle memory versus developing a higher level of mental cognition and memory. So the second way of learning is cognitive learning, and this is where we learn by the means of the following key components. Knowledge. That means we are learning an education. We are becoming educated. Comprehension, that's the ability to understand. Application, that's when we practice. Analysis, that's the ability to examine the situation. Synthesis, and that's the ability to form an idea, maybe an opinion. And evaluation, that's the ability to form judgment and to make decisions. So while these are key areas in human cognitive learning, I can apply them all to horses. I've seen this, and this is the way I teach. So much of horse training is done through habituation, mechanics, and operant conditioning. And we're really selling our horses short if we continue this way. We're not giving them the benefit. Or how do I want to say this? We're not treating them as intelligent beings. And so what happens through too much mechanics and habituation is we're not exercising the horse's left brain, left hemisphere of their brain, which is their cognitive side. Instead, we're creating more muscle memory, as I said earlier, or just second nature. We can multitask, lots of us multitask, but we're not really present and we're not really thinking when we're multitasking. So in my work with horses, everything I do is centered around making the learning, the training, positive for the horse, which builds confidence and trust. I also challenge the horse at the same time, meaning I create what I call brain games in my activities and in the exercises so that the horse learns how to use their cognitive, how to exercise that brain. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. And when a horse is learning how to develop their thinking side of their brain, that side can become stronger, the thinking side, than the right hemisphere, their reactive side. So eventually your horse is going to become very confident. So an example would be leaving a gate half open and letting a group of horses figure out how to open the gate so they can get through it safely. Or you end up finding that group of horses rushing through the gate and injuring themselves. I know I've seen that way too many times. A gate gets left half open or it opens itself and you get a bunch of reactive horses that aren't thinking and they get themselves all worked up. Next thing you know, they're all trying to fly through that gate. Versus each horse stopping one at a time and either one of them figuring out how to open the gate or how to go through it calmly and then taking off. And I've seen that with my horses, where they go from the typical not thinking, adrenaline, all worked up, prey mentality, right brain, and then after we've developed this cognitive ability, they start thinking more and processing and analyzing, examining and putting it all together. It's pretty cool to see them come up, especially to this back alley gate, which we're going to work with if Sabrina wants to show. And I'll let a bunch of horses come through here and then pass through this area into the big wide open 10-acre field. And often, this is the perfect example. The gate's not always open all the way for them, and they're all 3 or 4 of them running and playing with each other in this area. They see the gate's not completely open, or I'm standing there holding it halfway open. And they slow down, they check in with me, they walk through, and they take off one at a time. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's beautiful to see because their spirit is still intact, they're happy, they're playful, but they're thinking. They can do both. So I'm now going to show you how I create confidence in my young horse Blue, who's turning 3 in a couple of months, through a learning experience, a learning opportunity. And I will set up the learning experience by doing the following 3 things, and in this order all the time for every horse. Number 1, I will create the experience, I will create the opportunity for my horse to learn, meaning I'm going to set it up with props, or if it's this gate, it's going to be the gate. Number 2, I will create a positive experience and association with this whole process, which means I'm patient, I'm understanding, I'm paying attention to him. Where is he? Where's his thought process? How does he show up during this? But I'm also not going to be passive. I'm going to be passive for a little bit while I wait to get information from my horse, but I'm also going to challenge him to try harder, to do better, and to get out of his comfort zone. This can be in any situation, from ground to riding, to new places, to trailer loading, to walking over a cavaletti or crossing water. And number 3, create consistency, repetition, and positive rewards with every learning experience. This is what creates, in a healthy way, good habits, habituation, good routines, and especially a great open learning frame of mind in your horse, which equals confidence. So before I work with Blue, I want to leave you with this. Make every moment with your horse purposeful and teachable. That should be a great mantra for you. And if you'd like to learn the how-to steps of developing your horse, I offer 2 amazing courses. One is my spirituality course, which is also included in my Mastery Membership Riding Foundation program. Both are step-by-step. All right, let's go. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. Good. Good baby. Good lick and chew. Oh, that good baby. That's awesome. That's it, guys. That could be anything. And let's say that he wasn't that willing to try. He didn't have that much confidence, which I know a lot of horses don't have, older horses. You just take your time, break it down into a slow process, little bit at a time. You don't need to accomplish the end result in one session, okay? No need. Take your time, because this one exercise can open Pandora's box of possibilities, meaning it can totally change the way your horse looks at learning, making everything easier if you do it right the first time. Thank you, and may you always be one with your horse.